But by now you've had, you know, 2 different sets of people in the room. The room's energy is different. They're taking notes left and right. They're asking all these cognitive and psychological and emotional and mental questions, and I'm sitting there like, something isn't right. Surgeon walks in. Mind you, again, I had a neurosurgeon for 9 years, so meeting a neurosurgeon to me was so normal. So he walks in, sits down, clear as day, like sits on a stool, scoots the stool in, I'm on the chair, mom is here, boyfriend's here, I'm sitting here, and like it was cold. He said, Katie, can I show you what you have? Mind you, in 9 years, I had never been shown a scan. I had never been given a report. I had never known to ask to see those. Because again, I was a young girl with a very promising career, very smart individual for what I was interested in, and never thought to go behind my doctor and their professional opinion and say like, oh, well, I'm questioning it, right? Why would I ask anything? So when my neurosurgeon, who is still in charge of my care today, not the 9-year guy, when he said, can I show you what you have? I remember just being like excited, like, yeah, show me what I got. Like, I want to see the birthmark. And I think I was in shock because it didn't process until we got home. But he puts on the screen my scan and he turns it right to me, points, and I look at him and I said, is that my eyeball? He said, no, Katie, that is what we call a brain tumor. And I think I laughed because you again hear those words, but you don't relate them to yourself. And so when he said, that's your brain tumor, I sat there like, no, that's my birthmark. Which also is microscopic, right? It's the size of a pea. It's the size of the top of your fingernail. I was told all of those things and more. So when he puts it on the screen and I'm looking at this golf ball, I'm like, no, you got the wrong girl. It was so intense hearing that's your brain tumor after 9 years of you have a birthmark, to the point where we were like, you're in the wrong room. Like, you got the girl down the hall maybe, or the scans got messed up in the system. Like, how can I go from 9 years of a normal life into that's your brain tumor? So we're sitting there. I think my mom and boyfriend processed it a lot faster than I did, because I sat there and I was like, so one question, can I live with it? And I love him to death. I will always love him to death. He saved my life and he's a very pivotal part of my story and my future, and I'll always have a soft spot for him, and I so appreciate him being so blunt. But he quite literally looked at me when I said, I have one question. Can I live with it? And just, no. And that's when I said, okay, like, what do we do? What do we do? I was so innocent. So innocent. Do we stick a needle in and just suck it out? That genuinely was my reaction. And it was the first time I heard the words, you know, remove your skull in that context. We're gonna, you know, do a craniotomy. This is coming out. We're gonna put you on these kinds of medications to avoid seizures. And I'm looking at him like, for my birthmark. Like, all on April 30th in one appointment. I'm sitting there for my second opinion of 9 years, a microscopic little tiny spot in my brain, to we are removing your skull on Monday and taking this out. It was a lot, and it's still a lot. And when he said it, I said, I don't think I had any questions in that moment. I think I just said, okay, like, let's do that. Like, are we doing it tonight? Like, how does this work? And he said, no, my next available is on Monday. We're gonna call, we're gonna get you scheduled, we're gonna get you through this. And I remember him sitting right in front of me, and the resident had come in at this point, same with the nurse, looking at me, these perfect strangers, and they said, we're gonna get you through this. It's like, get me through what? Because I don't think processed the magnitude of what was gonna happen. And I think it was when I like got in the car and got home and like ate food and touched grass and like had a minute. It was like, walking into the front door, my dad's like, so how was your appointment? And it's like, well, I'm having surgery. He's like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, I'm having major surgery on my brain on Monday. And it was a lot. And that's just how we got to the appointment. The amount that this story unfolds from there, like going back to my previous doctor of 9 years to tell him I'm having surgery and his reaction, and the last 2 years of my life that I thought was just second opinion for a birthmark. Then I thought it was, okay, take it out, let's be efficient, let's go, I'm not afraid, to massive complication, not to the fault of anyone, to a pathology diagnosis, to a treatment plan by the major hospitals in Southern California, to now experimental medication. Like, the 9 year thought that went into, here's the rest of your life. And so I'm still processing, I am still handling it. Like I said, I'm just sitting on my couch having a chat to try and help somebody else, because had I known better, I would have advocated. I would have said, let me see it. I would have said, can I have a copy of my report? It was in every report. Every report said the actual word glioma. It said cannot rule out glioblastoma, cannot rule out astrocytoma. It never said birthmark. I don't even know, correct me if I'm wrong, if that's even a term that comes across the medical field, but it all said tumor. And I do remember one time asking him, I think it was in like 2023 maybe, like, can I see it, out of curiosity. And I do remember his response being like, oh, I need to show you it in my office, like on my laptop, because I don't have the program to show you it. But I didn't think anything of it. I said, okay. And so when I met, Cedars-Sinai Technology and got exposed to what a normal appointment should look like, it was devastating, to say the very least. But I also don't think my family and myself even realized that we were angry with my 9-year doctor. And I know I'm telling this story in a little bit of anger, because now I've processed more and more. But I don't think we were angry with him. I think we were so focused on saving my life and getting through this next part that the idea that something could have been prevented didn't come until I met specialists, 3-4 months after surgery, when everyone was discussing my treatment plan. And it wasn't until I met those specialists, when certain specialists said, when this first grew in 2021, again in 22, and again in 23, and again in 24, you could have taken it out in 2021. And if you had taken it out in 2021, maybe it would have been a grade 1. Maybe it would have been a grade 2. It wouldn't have been possibly a grade 3 terminal diagnosis.